Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, got a post here by the Hedera Foundation and they say 2025 by the numbers. So let's go through it. So 364% plus in the stablecoin market cap, 292,679 up the yearly high active monthly users, 59.28% increase in smart contract transactions, 40 plus chains connected via layer 0, 32 global council members governing the network, that's an extra 3 in 2025, 60 plus chains accessible via Axela, and 0.0001 average transaction cost, and in brackets that says unchanged. Okay, so let's really get into this then. Very impressive numbers here. Very impressive numbers if you ask me. Like, that shows you what? That it's a growing network, right? That shows you that it's a growing network. So let's go through some of this. 364% up in terms of the stablecoin market cap. I've said this numerous times. I think a lot of people really underestimate what stablecoins are, because obviously it's not really an investment. It's just, you know, a stablecoin. So, you know, it's just tied to whatever fiat currency. But look, stablecoins is really the barrier to entry for a lot of the, you know, average Joes to get into crypto. Because how it will start is, you know, you could have a crypto wallet, and let's just say, for example, you don't want to get involved in crypto to the center of you don't want to invest or stuff like that. You could still have a stablecoin to pay for your bills or something. Or it might be that, for example, you want to make a transfer via a stablecoin because you don't want to pay, you know, the bank fees. So, for example, if you wanted to do a cross-border payment to somebody, but you didn't want to have to go to your bank and pay, you know, a lot of money, and then also it could take 3 to 5 days for that payment to get there, you could say, hey, go and get yourself a crypto wallet. I'll transfer you the money via crypto, and you just transfer the money via a stablecoin. You get what I mean? So it's still like a big thing in terms of having stablecoins. Like, stablecoins is a very big part of crypto adoption. It is, because, you know, when you go to shops and things like that, stablecoins is going to be one of the things that they're utilizing. That's just the way it's going to be. So I think that's a very big thing to see that it's growing on the network. 292,000 up yearly high active monthly users. That's huge. That's huge. That's impressive, because again, it's growing, right? Like, at the end of the day, the one thing that you want to see here is growth. Like, if you've seen anything that was down, now don't get me wrong, I'd have to look at what it is, but you don't want to see anything go down ultimately, but you might be able to look at it and say, well, we can justify it with X, Y, Z. Nothing here has gone down. And to see that there's more active monthly users, well, that's a huge positive, right? Because that means that the network is gaining more users. It's going up. So that's more usage. So this is more people coming to Hedera. So again, with more developers, you know, more use cases and things like that, it could bring even more users to the network. So that's a huge positive. Increase in smart contract transactions. Once again, a huge positive, because it means that the network is being utilized. When I think of smart contracts, I think of usually like DeFi, right? DeFi is one of these ones where smart contract is heavily used for DeFi projects. It could be, you know, you're locking up supply. Like, so for example, in the previous bull run, one of the very big use cases that was coming out through DeFi was nodes. You might have heard of that before. You might not have. Node season. But nodes were basically, you invest into a node, and this node just generates you a yield. It'll just generate you a monthly yield or a daily yield, whatever. And so it was all working via smart contracts, right? You have to use a smart contract to execute buying the node. Then you'd have to execute the smart contract to, you know, withdraw the yield from the node and whatnot. So this was all how it was working. So really and truly, when it comes to smart contracts, you're just thinking use cases. You're just thinking usage, right? So again, that going up, more usage on the network, obviously a positive. So we've got the 60 plus chains and the 40 plus chains connected via layer 0 and Axela. Yeah, as I've said before, when we're talking about mass adoption, at the end of the day, like, this is what you want. You want the network to be as accessible as possible, because at the end of the day, if you've just got this one network here by itself, not connected to any other chains, yeah, of course, I'm not saying that it won't have any success, but it could be limiting its success. So at the end of the day, it being connected to other chains just makes it more freely available to other people. Because, you know, like I've said this before, let's just say somebody's a Cardano holder and they're just very, very tribal on Cardano, and they're just like, hey, I'm only using Cardano. Like, that's what I believe in. I don't care about anything else. Cardano, and that's it. It could be that they need to do something, and behind the scenes, it happens through Hedera, and they don't even realize it. Or it could be that they have to use Hedera and they're aware of it for whatever reason, and then once they use Hedera, it could be like, oh, that was good. Like, that was a really good experience. You know, like that was a lot better than what I thought it would be. And then they could think, maybe I should invest in HBAR. You know, like, this is a better network than I gave it credit for. Now I've actually had a chance to use it. Yeah, I think this is good. You see what I mean? And even if it's just, you know, things like, okay, I need to do a transfer, but I can't do it on Cardano because this is on the Hedera network. You've now got that access to bridge across. So it's just going to help all the networks. And as I've said before numerous times, you're not just going to have one network. You're not going to be at the end of this, when it's all said and done, and let's say, you know, crypto's had its regulations and all the networks out here, you're not just going to have Hedera as the one successful network and then all the other networks are gone. That's just not going to happen. There's going to be a multi-chain future. There's going to be numerous networks that are successful and bridged, connected together. That's just the way it's going to be. Like, think about it from example of like the internet, right? With email. When you first had email, you could only go with the one company to the one company. So for example, if you was with Yahoo, you could only do Yahoo to Yahoo. If you was with AOL, you could only do emails from AOL to AOL. But that's not the case no more, right? Now you can do Outlook to AOL, you can do AOL to Yahoo. You know, you can do multiple different email domains, right? There's no exclusion, right? You can just transfer to whatever email you want to. That's the way it's going to be for crypto. So I think people have just got to understand that this is what you want. Like, you don't want to be limited. Like, again, from an email perspective, imagine if you wanted to email a company, but their email was AOL and your Hotmail. And now you're like, damn, I wanted to contact this company, but I can't because I've not got the same domain as them, and I'm not willing to open up a Yahoo account or whatever to have to speak with them. Like, can you imagine how, you know, restrictive that could be? It's the same for crypto. It's exactly the same for crypto. It's going to restrict people getting involved and be able to utilize it if they're, you know, not being able to have that multi-chain, that, you know, being able to just have that huge adoption where they can go across chain and, you know, sometimes not even realize it. So to me, I think that's a huge positive overall. So 3 new council members in 2025. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, it's always a positive when you get people, you know, companies coming to the governing council because they're trying to have a stake in the future. And hope, and I will say this, the hope is that they will, you know, ultimately want to use Hedera long term themselves as well. Because, you know, like I look at, for example, Google. Google's on the governing council and they've ended up deciding to make their own blockchain. So I want to just be clear on this. At the end of the day, yes, there are going to be some companies that may just want to make their own chain. That's just, you know, that's just the reality of the situation. But I don't think every company is going to do that. Like, there's still numerous companies on the governing council that haven't built their own blockchain. And you've got to understand that Google are big enough where I can understand them wanting to make their own blockchain. But there's going to be a lot of companies for them where it's not going to make sense. Because building your own blockchain or hashgraph, whatever, as I've said before, it's not easy. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So a lot of companies are not going to want that hassle. They're going to rather want to just stick with a network that's already out there, that's been tested and proven, that a lot of people are using, that has a community because it's got liquidity, etc. And so they're going to go with the easier option than trying to manage their own network. So at the end of the day, that to me is like really, you know, the realistic outlook to have. I think the majority of companies that you'll see on this governing council, they're not all going to make their change. The majority of them are going to stick to other networks. And so the fact that they're using HBAR right now, trying to, you know, think of use cases for Hedera and trying to help it excel, it would just make sense that they would choose Hedera in the end. So it doesn't guarantee, but it's the logical choice, right? Because you're on the governing council. Like, you're being given the opportunity to try and make use cases for this network, and you're getting to test out the network. So, you know, I think of that overall as a positive. And then we've just got the fees. That's, again, not changed at all. 0.0001 cent. Like, literally fractions of a cent. It's crazy. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, this is one of the huge positives about Hedera. One, it's in dollars, so you just know that if you're forecasting, it's always going to be in dollars. It's not going to be dependent on, you know, the cryptocurrency that you're using, because this is the thing, right? The cryptos that you're using, obviously, they can go up and down in value. And this is what I've always been saying about Ethereum, which is their biggest issue. It's always about the actual Ethereum token. So obviously, in a bull run, Ethereum can be like hugely expensive, right? Because, you know, it's high in value. And also, the network is very busy because everybody's using it, because you're in a bull run, right? So it's getting all the attention. Everybody's using it. Everybody's getting involved, doing a lot of transacting and stuff like that. And so the congestion goes up, which leads to like failed transactions. The costs are a lot higher because ETH is a lot higher in price. It adds to all that stuff. And so Hedera being able to, like, you know, keep the price at not like the crypto price, but an exact price and in dollars. Like, if you're a business, you can forecast your business on this. Do you see what I mean? Like, that's the difference. And again, it's so cheap. Like, it's dirt cheap. It's basically free. It's pretty much free. So, you know, like, you can just see the benefits of this. So, really huge stats here, if you ask me. And that's a really good 2025 by Hedera. I know I covered some of the things already, but I didn't do this one. And I'm impressed with it, man. I'm impressed. I think this says a lot. So, real great stuff to see here. And let's see what Hedera can bring for 2026. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell. Take care.